The movie starts as we see Mac Phillips, only 13 years old, who had to deal with an extreme religious and alcoholic father, his father physically abusing his mother and Mac when he defended his mother. On an indelible and fateful night, his father in the rain caused a beating that lasted until dawn. After that night, blinded by grief, he did the unthinkable, intoxicating his father with a bottle of liquor. Over the years, the adult Mac has formed an apparently normal family, in which he does not repeat the pattern of his childhood. He is the father of 3 children, and has been married to Nan for 18 years. With his family he usually goes to church, although Mac's heart is always far from God, despite the fact that his wife does have a relationship with God, and calls him Dad. One weekend, Mac decides to take the children camping near a lake, not knowing that something bad awaits him. The first day they spend a happy night, singing by a campfire. However, the next day something unexpected happens. It happens that the older children ride in a boat, so Kate stands up to greet her father.
Oye!
But the boat turns over, causing Josh to get stuck, and begins to drown. Desperate, Mac runs to help him, and manages to revive him. But when turning around, Mac can't find little Missy.
Missy!
Worried, he runs to ask everyone in the camp, but no one has seen her. After hours and with the help of the police, they organize a search.
No es de ella.
Nan arrives at the police station and in a state of shock. She can do no more than comfort her husband, who is devastated and without strength. At that moment the police arrive, and they take him to the abandoned cabin where they got Missy's clothes full of plasma, in which Mac is faced with the terrible news that his daughter has not only been kidnapped, but raped. And they have considered their case closed, although they have not yet found the body, since all the evidence indicates that it is lifeless. As a result of that, Mac loses faith in God, and little by little all the accumulated hatred of his childhood is awakened. He is consumed in impotence and anger towards God. He cannot believe that God has allowed something so disastrous to happen to him. To Mac's surprise, one day he finds in his mailbox a strange letter addressed to him that says, "I'll be at the shack next weekend if you want to get together. Papa." Mac thinks it was his wife or a prank from his friend Willie and goes to claim him. Willie, seeing his condition, thinks he is hallucinating and offers to accompany him to the cabin. When the weekend arrives, about to leave, he tricks Willie into going back to the house to get the fishing rod, and leaves. Bewildered and distracted, he almost crashes into a truck. He continues on his way, and when he reaches the cabin, he takes out a weapon believing that someone is waiting for him, but seeing the plasma stains on the floor again, he is filled with anger and pain. When he leaves, he is surprised to see that a man calls him by his name, and tells him to follow him because someone wants to see him. With fear, Mac decides to follow him. Strangely, the road changes from cold to warm until you reach a beautiful cabin, where you are welcomed by a very kind woman, who introduces herself as Adonai. She says that name is her favorite, and that it represents God, the same God that Nan calls Papa. Immediately, Adonai introduces him to his son Jesus and then to Roa, which means the Holy Spirit. There she tells him that she collects tears and treasures some of Mac. But very confused, Mac goes to the dock. He does not believe what he sees and thinks that apparently, he is going crazy.
Se te cayó esto.
Jesus arrives there with the letter in his hand, to which Mac asks him if it was he who wrote it. Jesus only tells him that they are delighted that he accepted the invitation, treating him so well as one more member of the family. If you feel like you can't take it anymore, and you don't feel God close to you, pay attention to what God is trying to say to Mac, because he will be speaking to you through this story. While they cook, Adonai takes his hand with tears in his eyes, saying that he never left him, he was always there by his side. After the arrival of a little bird, Adonai tells us that he was created to fly, just as we were created to be loved. She adds that living without love is like cutting a little bird's wings. At night, as he goes to sleep overwhelmed, he has nightmares about Missy. So at dawn, he tells Adonai that he doesn't understand why God didn't do anything for his daughter and leaves very angry. However, Roa stops him to give him the keys to his car, saying that if he wants to go, she won't stop him. "But I would like me to help her in the garden before she leaves." He decides to go, and they arrive at a beautiful garden, but on the one hand quite destroyed. She wants to plant a very special tree there, but first she wants to remove the weeds by the roots. She explains that the garden is like him. Within it, there is good and evil, but you have to get rid of the bad so that the good can flourish. Still with doubts, Mac decides to stay, and goes to the workshop where Jesus is, who tells him that he wants to show him something that is on the other side of the lake, that in the meantime he should go fishing. So Mac goes out on the boat, and in the middle of the lake, he begins to hallucinate hearing his daughter's voice.
Papi!
When suddenly he feels the boat hit. Then he sees his son drowning. He begins to sink and is very scared. At that moment, Jesus calls him and tells him not to think about the past, or the pain, to trust in him. Following his instructions, Mac manages to walk together on the water, to the edge of a beach. Later, Jesus tells him where to go. Mac continues until he finds a mountain. He trusted Jesus and went inside it, and there was the wisdom. She makes Mac understand that one should not judge, because many people can make mistakes in life. Wisdom asked him several questions, in which he answered what seemed fair to him. And in all of them, he blames God for what happened. Then, the moment came when Wisdom proposes to change roles with Mac, so that he is now the judge. So he gives her the choice between one of her children, for an eternity in heaven, and the other for hell. She tells him, it could be Kate, because she has said very painful things to you. Or Josh, who has been disobedient, and has lied to you.
No puedo.
Mac says that it's not fair, that she better take him instead of them. This confirms that all his children are worthy of love, and that precisely the heart of God is like that.
Lo que yo no entiendo es cómo Dios podía amar a Missy y dejarla pasar por ese horror.
She tells him that God does not punish. What happened to Missy was the work of evil. Life without pain is impossible. Whenever there is another will that decides not to follow God. Mac manages to understand that the only way to be happy again and to be able to live with the memory full of love for his daughter is to forgive, letting out all the resentment and pain accumulated over the years. So he decides not to continue being a judge. At that moment, a portal opens where he sees his daughter Missy, running and playing very happily. She approaches and greets him. Although she does not see or hear him, she knows that her father is there. That way Mac manages to understand that Missy is in a better place. And that's how Mac comes out totally transformed, a big smile shining on his face. Upon meeting Adoni, Jesus and Roa, they take him to see a meadow and give him the opportunity to look at it as they see it. Human figures with lights and different colors. Roa tells him that it is Kino. They are dad's sons from all over the world, which is how they see personalities and emotions. There Mac sees a light that seems familiar to him. As he approaches he sees that it is his father. The same man he murdered, and that's where they both regret what happened and hug. The next morning, he is awakened by Adoni, who now appears in the body of a man. For Mac, today was his toughest test and he was going to need a father. Papa takes him to the forest, where Mac sees the same plasma stain as his daughter's. There he realizes that he must forgive Missy's killer. It is the final and hardest test for him. Mac just has to say out loud to the killer that he forgives him, and that he may still be angry later, but if he repeats it often he will succeed. So he throws away his daughter's backpack and sits on the floor sobbing, muttering, "I forgive you." Papa is overjoyed to hear it. In that, Papa takes Mac to a cave, where Missy's body is found. There they wrap her in a blanket full of flowers, and then take her to the cabin. Along the way, repeat the phrase over and over again, "I forgive you." Jesus and Roa wait for them with everything ready for their burial. Mac kneels down and sadly says goodbye to her in that beautiful garden. In that instant, Papa becomes Adonai again, and Roa plants flowers on the grave, watering them with Mac's long-cherished tears. The next day, before leaving the cabin, Mac tells them that he wants to have them in his life. So Adoni asks him for a single favor, and that is to keep an eye on Kate because he feels guilty about Missy. Back home, the unexpected happens. Mac, upon waking up in the hospital, is very confused. Seeing Willie, he tells him what happened, but Willie thinks it's impossible, because he had the accident the same day he left for the cabin to look for Missy. His wife arrives there, to whom he tells her that he saw Missy, and that she is very happy. Then alone with Kate, he tells her that together they will learn not to feel guilt, that she will never be alone, so they hug like they never had before. Now, in Mac's life, there is a relationship with Dad, he forgives faster and apologizes even faster. Mac became a boy again, or the boy he could never be. This is the summary of the movie The Shack. Subscribe for more summary of Christian movies.